I'm looking that way and I'm talking about things.
Do I like climbing? I've been climbing for about 9 years now, and I've always known climbing's good for you physically. It's good exercise, it keeps you fit. But I've always felt that climbing is really good for your mental health as well. I get scared that people don't like me, that people find me annoying, that I don't fit in. I get scared that I'm not going to do anything with my life. But when you're climbing, it's a lot more of a rational thing to be afraid of, so it kind of gives you perspective. I wanted to speak to some other people in the climbing community to see if they've had the same kind of experience. My name's Lauren, and this is my film about climbing and mental health.
My name is Phoebe Foster. I find climbing outdoors a lot more challenging because when you're in the climbing gym you have set routes, they've got colours, whereas when you're climbing outside you're faced with a rock wall. It's a lot more challenging in terms of pushing yourself, but I think it's really rewarding as well.
I'd taken a year out from university and busy life because I'd gotten quite ill all of a sudden, and I met someone who fortunately was a climber, and I think it was the first time in a long year that I felt strong and I felt like I could progress in something, and it was a really big part of my recovery.
I've been married before, went through a divorce. Climbing kind of like saved me from going into the pit of depression. Last year I was diagnosed with cancer, and hideous time. You focus on the climbing and not impending doom.
And it's something that you're like constantly challenging yourself. I think that's just such a skill to have, rather than sort of just expecting everything to be doable first off.
I like climbing because it's kind of like dancing. You can express yourself with the movement.
A few years ago I went through a bit of a bad patch where I suffered from depression and anxiety, and I definitely found then just being outside I felt so much better.
Black Dog Outdoors are an organisation, and they take people who have been maybe having problems with their mental health and introduce them to sports like climbing. I met up with them for the day to speak to some of the people behind Black Dog Outdoors and some of the attendees as well.
I was out on a mountaineering trip with a group of people I'd never met before, and when we were chatting around the dinner table of what brought us to the mountain, you know, everybody had almost the same answer. It was the release, it was a therapy, it was, you know, the challenge. I started to do some research whether there's a link between outdoor exercise and mental health, and found that there is, but couldn't find many places where the two were being promoted together.
Yeah, I'm 6'3" and I have a +4 ape index, so my wingspan's 6'7". So I'm built for climbing, they say. You know when you go climbing that your mind's going to have a little break because you've got to focus on the rock.
My name's Louise Hall. I'm the climbing officer for Black Dog Outdoors, and I'm also the director of Climb Alongside Mental Health. And today we are holding an outdoor climbing event. People who might be struggling with their mental health or affected by mental illness, and just have a nice day outside.
My name's Holly, I'm a climbing instructor, and what we're doing here resonates with me quite a lot. I just love bringing people outdoors and showing them the positives of climbing. Yeah, it means a lot to me doing this.
And I think even though climbing is really social, you are doing it because you want to do it. You want to do it even if you're in pain or your fingers are killing you, or your shoes are starting to wear through. I think it's a nice way of thinking about life in general, is that you should just kind of go for your goals.
The focus and the attention on the climbing, on the route, just, you can't think about work while you're climbing. It's impossible, I've tried.
My name's Lee. Today's been brilliant. I found it more like a puzzle solving thing rather than the physical strain of pulling yourself up a rock face. The problem solving's been probably the most interesting and unexpected part of the day. Yeah, definitely going home with a smile on my face.
My name's Tess. I've absolutely loved today. Yeah, being outside, being active, but also something that you're really focused on. for me is just perfect, yeah.
I had a terrible year last year, but I climbed a lot, I did a lot of photography. I think anything that involves you doing a certain thing where that's all you're thinking about is an amazing thing to combat mental health.
I think one thing people need to be aware of is it's not always the most accessible sport to get into. There are a lot of people in the climbing community that aren't represented as much, mainly because of their situation or backgrounds. That is why events like what Black Dog Outdoors have been doing is really important, because it introduces the sport to people who might not ever have the skills or even the opportunity to take up climbing otherwise.
People are still quite keen to keep their mental health to themselves, which is obviously problematic if you're suffering with mental health issues. It's really important to talk about them.
Toxic masculinity is a big talking point because guys just don't feel like they can really talk about their feelings much.
The main issue is that for people that personally have never had mental health problems, I don't think it's easy for them to understand what it feels like. They think you can just cheer up or just shrug it off. But actually you can't, because if you could, you would.
And how do you tell someone else, particularly if they haven't been experiencing mental health problems, how do you articulate to them feelings that you can barely admit to yourself sometimes?
I think that actually a lot of the solutions could be applied to how we kind of view society and failure. Once you realise that you can fail at climbing, because actually most people fail like all the time, it does make that okay in like real life.
I still don't think it's fully understood at some levels. People do realise that it's an increasing problem, and you know, we're all human beings, we all want to look out for each other.
Mindfulness is basically when you put yourself in the present, you focus on things going on right then around you, and that can be really helpful because a lot of the time people worry about things that have either happened in the past or worry about things that haven't happened yet, so in the future, and ultimately the only thing we really have control over is what's happening now. And that can be quite similar to what climbing does for you, because when you're climbing you're really putting yourself in the present. In order to actually practice mindfulness, you can just take the time to look at things going on.
There's your action shot right there.
Oh, I've got it all over my shoes. The fire's gone.
I had a really good thing I wanted to say and I've forgotten it, so bear with. Oh yeah.
It's just fun, isn't it?
Shall I do a dance? The closing shot is really in there.